This is Family Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air with Joseph Rickards, author and entrepreneur of UkraineDating.ca. You can see the link up there. And welcome to the Family Electric Ghost podcast.
Thanks, Phantom. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Now, I want to let people know we are a featured podcast on the Newsly platform. You can see that the coupon code below for Ghost. If you use that, you get 1 month free premium subscription on that platform. That's an audio platform. And this podcast will be on Newsly later tonight as an audio only version of the podcast. Now, we want to focus today on your website of UkraineDating.ca, and maybe you can tell people that will be fully clickable when we're published. But if they click on that, what will they find?
Actually, it's my apologies. It's ukrainedating.tv, but you can go to .ca. That's a blog. .tv. It's actually a free dating platform. ukrainedating.tv. You can go to either one. Today is basically my signature talk. It's my life story of, the question was for me, can you go from, as I did, from divorced, bankrupt, and homeless to finding your soulmate and having a family, having children at the ripe young age of 50. So that's my life story. In a nutshell, for my first, in my early adulthood, I was focused on the almighty buck and in the pursuit of wealth. And I attained that, became a multimillionaire. And then I sat back and went, hey, wait a second. I've missed the mark of life. Life, what's it about? It's not about money at all. It's about love and family. And it was all stripped away from me. And it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Have you guys ever had that where something very unfortunate happens to your life and you look back and you say, wow, that was really a blessing and I didn't see it. It was in disguise. So that's basically my life story. So I'm a dad now at 58 of a beautiful 5-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old daughter, and married to my soulmate. And I'm basically just here to be a sounding board for you guys. If you have questions, to be a beacon of light, to be, a sliver of hope. If you happen to be in a similar situation, if my story resonates with you, then I'm here to help. This is I've done something off the wall. It's the only free dating platform with Ukrainian women on the internet. There's nothing else that exists even like it. So our ladies stream every day. Most of them are single. Some are in Ukraine, some are in Canada, some are in Europe. As you know, Ukraine is at war. And our streamers are located all over the world. And you can actually do a video date with them on camera. You can ask them questions. You can flirt with them. And for $200, that's where it's a little bit of money. You can buy them flowers and get their contact information and actually start a relationship. So yeah, that's in a nutshell my story.
So, again, it was the topic here was do you believe it's possible for you to find your soulmate after 50? You said you went through your crucible moment. You got divorced. You were homeless, and then sometimes when you have a crucible moment, things happen. As an artist, sometimes when you're at your lowest point or you had something really traumatic happen, that creates your best opportunity for a piece of art. And it seems like you've done that with your life. You created this service which we have now correctly as UkraineDating.tv. And so now you've got this ability to use the net because people are still living in the kind of post-COVID world. They connect to people, and now you can connect worldwide. You don't have to connect to people in your neighborhood. And so, do you find that having a connection to people from Ukraine or somebody that probably isn't, the American or somebody that goes to use their service, it isn't somebody from the neighborhood they're in, right? They're actually meeting somebody new from a different perspective. Gives you potentially different opportunities to date women from this space. Maybe you can talk to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the world is shrinking, right? Every year now, every decade, and it's like one one big party, right? And the thing for me was, being divorced, bankrupt, and homeless at 50. It's like you say, Phantom. It gave me an opportunity. I mean, when you strip away everything, and you're left with nothing, it really forces one, as it did me, to reflect on my trajectory in life, which was all about making money. It was all about, I'm an engineer by profession, but I'd built a real estate franchise, and as a successful real estate investor, and doing these different things. But I realized that it didn't bring me happiness in life. And then when my life partner, so I thought, said, honey, well, I don't love you anymore. I want a divorce. And that was basically a week before they took my last piece of property, which was our matrimonial home. You sit back and you go, wow, when you're sleeping on a park bench, you really have to
Mhm.
think about life and what you want. So for me, out of the second half of life, as I call it, I knew that what I wanted more than anything was a family. So I basically went on a mission to discover, how can I build a family? First of all, find my soulmate, because I don't believe in a family built on anything other than true love is worth its salt. So how do I find my soulmate? And then how do I find somebody of childbearing years, right? Because I'm 50. And I basically went at it like an engineer typically does. Here's a problem. How do you solve it? And it's like you said, I went traveling the world, and I looked for cultures where it's normal for them to date and marry older men, right? So 10, 15
Mm.
years. So a 35-year-old for a 50-year-old in Ukraine, for example, I won't say it's normal, but it's done, right? You can find women that really want to have a family and they happen to be 35, you're 50. It's possible. So whereas in Canada, I'm Canadian, it's not really feasible to find, for a 50-year-old to find a 35-year-old for marriage. And it sort of started,
Yeah.
it started there. So I moved to Ukraine and lived there.
Oh,
So
wow.
I lived, yeah, for 7 years, and my family's from Ukraine. So I met my wife on the streets in Kyiv, in the capital, and we were living in Ukraine, South Ukraine, when the war started. And so we got out 6 days before, and I came back to Canada. So I immigrated my family back to Canada. So we live in Kelowna, British Columbia, Canada now. And yeah, this channel is an opportunity for guys to check it out and really ask the hard questions to Ukrainian women, because basically there's many, many myths out there about Slavic and Ukrainian women, about age gap, about traditional or not, just many, many myths. And this way you get to, ask the ladies themselves, and you'll see the quality of the ladies that stream there. Like I said, it's a free service. It's a non-profit for me. It costs me
Mhm.
money to run it, a couple grand a month, actually. And we're open for donations, and we're really blessed by receiving enough donations to keep the channel going. But it's a nonprofit, and yeah, it's my way of giving back, because I really.
So what
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, go
was it
ahead.
one of the questions that you had was like, there's a proven path to create a family despite being over 50. Would you want more? Want to know more? And it seems like that's like your elevator pitch to kind of tell somebody to kind of, draw them in to what you're you're doing with ukrainedating.tv.
Yeah, it's just uh, frankly speaking, there's no place. I mean, there's no place online that you can go to find the answer to the myriad of questions that guys that are looking to date abroad in Eastern Europe, for example, to find out the truth about all of these questions. There's no place. So that's why I created Ukraine Dating .tv, so guys can go hear it from the horse's mouth, kind of speak. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. So it gives you like a central place where you can, people want a trusted place they can go to and feel like they're talking to people that actually really want to have a relationship. And so that you're providing that. But one question you have I wanted to ask is like if you can dial back the clock and talk to your 30-year-old self, what would life advice would you have given your 30-year-old self?
Yeah, that's, I think, one of the best questions out there, that we can all ask ourselves after we're, a decade at least beyond 30, right? I think each decade beyond 30, hopefully we get a bit wiser based on life experience. And certainly I would do life. I mean, it's an interesting question because I always say to everybody, and it's true, I wouldn't change anything in my past. All the hardships I've been through, my successes, my failures, it all made me ultimately who I am today. And ultimately, if I changed anything in my past, I might, according to Einstein, right, I might change the trajectory for my future. I might not end up marrying my
Yeah.
soulmate, which I did, and having two wonderful daughters, right? So I really wouldn't want to change anything. But that said, what I would tell my 30-year-old self is that, money isn't the be all to end all. Money is not happiness. And I know, looking back with hindsight, that I was just too focused on my career and basically making more money, and buying more things. And I had, 50 some odd houses. I had sports cars, boats, golf course homes, lake homes. And at the end of the day, it didn't really buy me a shred of happiness. It's fleeting. That what you think it's happiness, get $150,000 new sports car is great. It's awesome. But guess what? That novelty's worn off in a very short period of time. It's very fleeting happiness. It's
Mhm.
not true happiness. I would tell myself true happiness, it's in family, relationships, and love. And I would say, young junior, pursue that instead of the almighty dollar.
So do you feel that maybe you could define what you feel um, a soulmate is? Because the people have this like concept of a soulmate, and maybe your definition of a soulmate, it could elaborate on that so people understand like what you were looking for.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, many different probably definitions for what a soulmate is. I think it's a pretty personal question, and one has to decide for themselves if, they've met their soulmate or what the requirement is for the soulmate. For me, I can just say for me, a soulmate is somebody that you connect with on many different levels. My wife is probably better to answer this question. So the way she kind of taught me what his soulmate is that there's 7 different chakras. And if you do a chakra analysis, the God chakra starts here. And her and I have a great connection there. We're both born again Christians, and it's very important to us, our connection with God. God is first in our family, and then me as the man, as the head of the household, I am after God. And then she's below that, and our family below that. And that's our family traditional structure. And so for me, soulmate had to include also traditional, because I was raised in a traditional family. My father was traditional. He was the breadwinner. My mother was traditional. She took care of the children and the home and the family, and so it's just ingrained in me, right? So when I was dating and the woman is like 50-50, um, like this, the whole sort of modern woman thing just didn't work for me because I'm a traditional man. And so it's rooted in that, and it's just a really deep connection on many different levels with the person. And they should be also a great friend or a best friend. I think a soulmate, if you go really deep, can almost understand what you're thinking before you even say it. For me, it's kind of like in my definition, and my wife Anna fits all of those. So I'm a very, very blessed man. And when we met, I can say it was cosmic. It was like, everything stopped moving, and our conversation almost slowed down, and this intense feeling. And we have a 20-year age gap, right? So I'm 58 and my wife is 38. And that hasn't hindered us at all. Um, she loves, she loves the same music from my era, interesting enough. And she's a singer, songwriter, musician as well. Anna Seven is her label. If anybody want to look up her music, Anna Seven.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So
So
I guess the question I would have is, what is your little known secret to finding your soulmate? And then a follow up is becoming a dad after 50. How did that feel? Because that was a goal that you had.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a great question. Of course, I didn't have the answer when I was, divorced, bankrupt, and homeless. I didn't have the answer, but I went seeking that answer. And basically, by moving my butt to Ukraine and living in Ukraine for 7 years, I began to really experience the culture, understand what makes the women tick, what do they want, and I discovered firsthand that what they want, it's very different than our Western world. It's very different than the marital dynamics in the West. Very, very different. They want the man to be the head of the household. They want him to be the leader. They want to follow him. They don't want to lead. They want him to be the breadwinner. They're happy to help and to get a job if the family needs money. That's okay. They're kind of like, they'll play the helper role in the family, but they want to take care of you. They want to take care of the children, take care of the family. So it's extremely traditional. It's like going back 50 or maybe even more years. It's like going back at least to my parents, maybe even my grandparents' generation. And they're not all like that. They're not all super, super traditional. Like the younger generation, the millennials, of course, the Western influence is making its
It's
way
already
into
there.
the,
Yeah.
yeah, it's there. But yeah, so I found that I just really fit well into this culture. Their values were the same as my values. And and because it was that way and I wanted children, I attracted a credible woman. And I dated before I found my wife Anna. I dated quite a bit actually. So I found that I was able to track a woman that's 15 or 20 years my junior easily in Ukraine, and they really appreciate the man. And so um yeah, I hope that answers the question. What was the question again?
And the other question was about having children after age 50.
Yeah, well, that was my big bucket list item, because all my friends had told me, Joe, the one thing in life, you know, that is most special to me. Like if I didn't get some other things in life, I would be okay with this. I'd be okay with that. But when you hold your child for the first time, when you're a father and you get to instill all the values and principles that you've adopted in your life to your child, just no replacement in life. So having children was my big life's dream. And when I lost everything, of material wealth, I adopted and I went to fulfill this dream. I managed to, once I dug myself out of the rut, right? Because when you go through that,
Mm.
it kicks you down pretty hard. But once I managed to dig myself out, I said, yeah, listen, I'm going for this. And the other thing about Ukrainian women, they're not materialistic. Like I believe the West has become very materialistic, men and women. I mean, it's all about one-upping the Joneses. It's your car,
Mhm.
it's your house, it's the clothes you wear. It's very, like, for example, in Ukraine, they don't ask the question, what do you do? Like at a party, like, hey, Phantom, good to meet you. So what is it you do? That's the second question almost at any meet and
Mm.
greet, right? In Ukraine, at a get
Yeah.
together, they don't even ask you that. They don't care about that. It's about more uh, family things, more other topics that are more important to them than what you do.
Wow. So they want to know more about like who you are and your
Yeah,
not your that your job is who you
yeah,
are, but
yeah,
maybe like who are you as like an authentic version of you? What are you interested in? What are
yeah.
your values? Because if it's more traditional, maybe like do you want to have children, or maybe you want to have a family, maybe those type of things. Is that the type of thing they want to ask you about?
Exactly, Phantom. Yeah, they talk about you talk about kids a lot and what your kids are doing, And they're very simple, down to earth, pragmatic people. People have a barbecue on the weekends. In Ukraine, they have a barbecue. The rivers and the lakes, or the shore, is just riddled with people, families, just having a $15 barbecue for some chicken, some vodka, of course, and family getting together. So I really resonated with that, and adopted, and really, I'm just loving being, as I call it, a grandpa dad, right? At 58, being a dad of a 5-year-old is kind of like, could be grandpa too. So I'm a grandpa dad, but I'm happy with that. Children are happy with that. My wife is ecstatically happy. So yeah, it's all about
How,
children
how
for me.
did how did you pick Ukraine though? How did you realize that you wanted to go there?
Well, I firmly believe, in fate, and it's just fate led me there. But how it actually happened is my best friend in Canada, he's also an engineer. He's married to a Russian woman, and he met her when he was doing his MBA, and he did a field trip to Moscow. And so she um, said, "Listen, my sister's getting married in Sumy, Ukraine, Joe, and I know you're divorced now, and you got to get back on the horse, really.
Oh,
So
so
she's
yeah,
invited you to the wedding." So I
that's
still
cool.
remember, August the 8th, 2016. Yeah, August 8th, 2016 was the wedding. And that was the date for me. That was the pivotal date.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing to get brought into a wedding. I mean, that's kind of how a lot of people in the old days would meet people.
Yeah.
Like at a wedding, you go to a friend's wedding, and then you hang out at the kind of festivity, and you
Yeah.
actually meet somebody. You get to dance with a woman. You get so it's kind of a cool kind of because if you're in college, you got the homecoming dance, you got these things. But what do you do when you're an adult? You go to the bar or you go to the club, but it's not like a wedding is a kind of a better scenario to me. It feels
Absolutely.
like, especially if
Absolutely.
you get invited and somebody knows you're single and maybe somebody kind of hooking you up, that sounds like a better opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ukrainian wedding goes on for 2 days, and it's so much fun. It's unbelievable. But hands down, the best wedding ever was that. Of course, I met somebody at the wedding too, so I kind of pursued her, but that wasn't in the cards. But the other thing is, if a guy ever had the chance to live in Ukraine, of course, with the war now, you wouldn't want to be doing that. But is such a different dating dynamic. Men are of such high value. It's just like a man has never, from the West, from America, let's say Canada, has never experienced how sought after you are in Ukraine, because there's a real imbalance of men and women.
Mm.
There's about 10 million more women than men in the whole Soviet
Oh,
Union, former
oh,
Soviet Union. And so, but it's at least several million in disparity of numbers in Ukraine. So you've got a large number of women changing a small number of bachelors. And then eligible bachelors or quality bachelors is another thing, because they're not all quality bachelors.
it's
They don't
limited.
all
Yeah.
want to settle down. There's a drinking problem in Ukraine. So you just experience this dynamic that just blows your mind.
It sounds like it's like a social disconnect. And if you have got if you got the men don't want to settle down and they're not they're into what the women want, which is the family structure. So it kind of leads to the dynamic that you're saying, like over 50,
Bingo.
they
Bingo.
see that
That's
a man is
exactly it.
more
Yeah.
more
Yeah. And
responsible,
yeah. And
more. Yeah, you can get
yeah,
it.
and the reason the men are not so inclined to settle down quickly is because there's such a plethora of beautiful women. It's literally a runway show. Walking around Kiev, the capital, it's like the street is a runway show. And so all these men have this beautiful women falling all over them. Why would they want to get married?
No incentive to get tied down.
Right, right. Whereas the women, they want marriage.
Where
So
where
it's a very different dynamic.
so in the
Trust
West
me on that.
we're kind of talking about there's a question about like, well, Western men are choosing to remain single because we have the modern era where there's a lot of people that they don't necessarily want to settle down. There's women, they want to be scientists, they want to be doctors, they want to be professionals, and they don't really have time for the traditional structure. So if that
Yeah.
doesn't really appeal to them. And so if
Yeah.
you're kind of this man that doesn't that's not comfortable with that, that you know what you want, you don't necessarily want your wife to be the doctor or the lawyer or the scientist and actually have a career that would put them like in the head of the household, which can happen in the West,
Yeah, you hit the
a
nail on
lot
the head. I mean,
lately.
I mean,
So
I
the
mean,
structure is
mhm.
different.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Phantom. Eh, I would even almost classify it. Some people have, like the British Minister of Health, classified loneliness in the UK as a pandemic. As he used the word pandemic, it's that big a problem. And you've got men feeling lonely. I don't know, women feeling lonely, but for some reason we we've both in the West dug in our heels, right? The men have dug in, the women have dug in. The men now have MGTOW, men that go their own way, which is numbering in the millions, passport bros, both what those guys believe in, that they're all leaving America looking for love abroad. They have given up. Um, so it's a shame. It really is. Not sure why this dynamic has happened in the West, but yeah, it has created this disparity between what men and women want, and they can't seem to, um, yeah, satisfy each other.
Well, I think like if you're more traditional or more conservative, right? You want that structure that is kind of from a past era. If you go back to the 1950s, 1930s, 1920s in the US, you would find those structures where that's the way the society, I was a sociology major. So if you got a society where you had a structure where, the father was the head of the household, when you have structures that happened after the 60s where the man is not necessarily going to be the head of the household. And if you're a more traditional person coming from a religious background that doesn't, uh, you know, doesn't work for you. Now, in some people, that works for them. They can handle that. They don't necessarily want a family with children. They could deal with a structure where they don't have a problem with a woman being a scientist or being the leader of the family. They can be in a different position. It's a different type of person. But if you find yourself in the position you're in, well, then you don't fit that. No, not everybody fits every box. So
Yeah, agreed.
you have to kind of I think people have to know yourself. Like if you know yourself, if you know what you want, and just because the society is going a different way, but that's if you don't feel comfortable with that, then you have to, like you say, you men to go their own way, or people to go out and check. And you found yourself in Ukraine, and you found this way to find, um, an alternative.
Yeah, I mean, relationships are about effective communication, right? A good relationship has good communication between, if it's buddies or it's marriage, you got to have effective communication. And I found that there's this disparity between how men and women rate each other. Like what do they want? What does a man want? What does a woman want? So I created a tool to really be able to help men and women. It's called yoursmv.com. It's another one. Your S like sexual, M like Martha, V like vehicle, yoursmv.com. And if you're curious, you can go see how Western women would rate you. It's a very accurate calculator. Again, I'm an engineer, so I've really taken a lot of effort into making sure it's accurate. So very well tested. So you can see, how do women rate you on the 10 scale, right? Are you a 5? Are you an 8? And then women can also do their SMV calculations, stands for sexual market value number, and see how Western men rate them. And then what's really interesting is I added on some more calculators to that. For men, how do Western women rate you compared to Eastern European women? And you can compare, how is your value in the eyes of Western women? What's that number? And then how is your value in the eyes of Eastern European traditional women? And that really will help. If you want to go check out your SMV, that will help you understand, are you best looking for love in the West, in America, or are you best looking for love in Eastern Europe, for example.
Yeah, I think it's like you have to know what you want. Like everybody, like
Yeah.
has different points of view. Younger, like you said, the younger generation probably doesn't
And
have
know where to get it,
the
and know where to get it. What you want and then where to
yeah.
get it.
I mean,
Because
the
if you want
younger
traditionality.
generation, they have a daughter. Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, because if you want a traditional relationship, it's pretty
yeah.
much
I have
dead
a
in the
daughter who's
water.
25, and I'm
Uh-huh.
saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Millennial.
but I'm saying, like, if you have the younger generation, like I have a younger daughter, and she's 25, and it's a different world for her with her age group. The type of
Yeah.
people that they hang out with and the different scenarios that happen. It's not exactly what's in your age group, right? So
Oh,
there's different
absolutely.
people that have different
Yeah.
points of view.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, different world for the millennials than for the boomers.
So what do you think? Yeah, I think that you had some comments about what you thought Western feminism had done to men. Maybe you can talk about that.
It's a pretty risque topic, and since you have kind of a balanced audience of men and women, more of a man's group topic. So if I can plead the fifth on that one and move on, it'll probably be good. I don't want to get roasted here.
Yeah, yeah, because I do have a kind of
Yeah, I saw your, yeah, kind of have a
so
balance.
when
It's
you're talking
I
about
think
maybe this other issue is about like
about what? Sorry, sorry, I don't hear any audio.
you had a question about single moms in
Single
terms
mom.
of like
Uh-huh.
dating coaches and
Uh-huh. Well, what I can say about single moms is that, what can I say about single moms? That, comparing the West to Ukraine, um, um, I think, I don't know, in the West, single moms seem to get a bad rap. And I'm not sure why that is exactly. I don't have any personal experience with that. Um, I know what guys say, right? So I don't want to repeat what they say. I don't want to slam any group of people or anything. But I can speak about, because maybe viewers don't know what Ukrainian single moms are. There's a lot of Ukrainian single moms. I don't think more than the West, but I think it's just a global thing because divorces, after all, it's 50% in most countries these days. Um, so single moms are really really mature, really appreciative when they find a man, for marriage. They find a husband, and if he's a good dad, he wants to be in the father role. They're very appreciative, very grateful, very traditional. And as I'm told, that's different in the West. I don't know. It seems like single moms in the
yeah.
West, a lot of them, I don't know, I'm told, want to stay single. Ukrainian women that are single moms, they do not want to stay single. They want to find a man, a father, a good father for their children. Because again, it's back to family values. Family is the most important thing in Ukraine. It's number one in the pecking order of importance in society is family. There's nothing more important. They don't put your house, your car, your job, they don't put anything on top of family. Oh, God, okay, the church on top of family. But other than that, so maybe I can say that's maybe a difference. Yeah.
Well, it also could be that sometimes they, from a male perspective, like some men want their own children. So they're looking for a relationship with a woman that hasn't had a child because they want to have their own children with that woman. And they kind of like their ego or their preference is that like I don't want to have to inherit this child that came from a previous relationship. Where if you have a man that doesn't have that point of view, that feels like, well, that's not a problem for me. I could adopt them, you know. So
Yeah.
so is that part of the when you're dealing with a Ukrainian dating, is that part of the profile of somebody the women are single and some of them have kids, and you can make a choice who you want to date.
Yeah, I think young men have more that choice. Like if you're 30, for example, and you're never married, don't have children, I think you can have the luxury of finding a woman that's say 25 or younger than you. She's never been married, no children. But once you're older, like 50, let's say, and if a 50-year-old man is looking to have children, mm, it's a bigger pool of ladies that are single moms. So you adopt their
Mhm.
child, and maybe they want to have another child or two with you if you're lucky, right? I think that's a more probable fit because, yeah. So I think it depends on your age, depends on what you want. And there's just a lot of choice of Ukrainian women, both single, no children, and single with children, like single moms. And now with the war going on, of course, it's even worse, right? I mean, there's even more choice of Ukrainian women, single Ukrainian women, married, never married, children, no children, and they're all over the world, right? And I guess an
Yeah,
interesting point I would
I guess
say about,
I guess
sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, yeah, well, what I was going to
Well, I
say
was
is,
gonna ask about the fact that of the war.
uh-huh.
I guess my question about the war was, like, since the people have been displaced and are not actually in Ukraine, they might be in another country. So when you're dealing with Ukraine dating, you're dealing with Ukrainian women who are outside of Ukraine in other countries because of the war?
Yeah, it's a big topic. What is the situation now, right? We have a YouTube channel, and my wife and I went live, and you can find your way to it from ukrainedating.tv, our other YouTube channel. But it seems like there's a big public misconception that, hey, the war's on. Of course, there's no dating with Ukrainian women. And this is a normal thought process, right? But it's not intuitive. The truth is not intuitive. And what the truth is, the the problem is even the problem of a lot of single women looking for a man but can't find a good man, like a husband. That problem is actually pronounced now. It's bigger now because of the war. And so these women are, for example, we interviewed on last Saturday a woman that's 25 and she's in London, and she says, "Listen, I'm having a hard time finding a husband. I want to settle down. I'm 25. I want to settle down. I want to have children. But in London, they all want to, boink me. That they try to pick me up. They don't want to wait. They want sex and they want it quickly. And this doesn't work for me. I'm not looking for that. So again, it's the traditional values." And all the men that she's tried to date, because she's constantly, like, she's a 10, and she's constantly getting hit on, and she's just decided to stop dating because she can't find it, and she's waiting to go back to Ukraine. But so it's, again, the traditional values thing is very different. So women that are Ukrainian or Eastern European that are located outside of Ukraine now, uh, people think that they're going to find their husband very easily now, but it's not the case because Western men don't have the same values as Ukrainian women. They want sex quickly, and for most Ukrainian women, that just doesn't work. That's not what they want. They know that their value is intrinsically tied to their body count. They know that. Their babushka, their grandma taught them, their mother taught them, everybody, they know that. So they don't give it up for just anybody.
So is that another reason why, like, your theme has been that you're over 50, and, that you've been able to find love over 50, and that you can find a Ukrainian woman that understands that age difference, maybe a 20-year age difference, that 50-year-old man is part of the key to that. Because when you were talking about the lady in London, is it because there are people who don't have that 20-year difference, or is that part of the equation?
Yeah, I mean, on that point, I guess I can say that one of the reasons that Ukrainian ladies look for a more mature man, say 10 years, 15 years age difference, like this lady that I was talking about in London, her name is Yulia. She's looking for a man up to 40. So she up to 40 is okay for you. Her so that's 15-year age gap. And one of the reasons, as she said when we interviewed her last Saturday, is she says guys that are anywhere near my age, like 25 or 30, they're not serious. They don't want to settle down. They're not mature.
Mhm.
And the other thing is they want to go Dutch. Ukrainian women, if you go Dutch, again, it's part of traditional values. They don't perceive you as being a serious man, because no man that wants her to pay for her half is interested in her. That's the way the culture is. The man that's pursuing the woman, he pays. He pays for everything.
Yeah,
This is the
it's a
culture.
culture.
That's the way it is. Yeah. So yeah, yeah.
So it's more likely that an older man is going to do the chivalry. They're going to do the kind of older, old school 1950 type of date
Yeah,
that you see in the movies, you
yeah,
know, and the Audrey Hepburn movies, like you're going to see James
yeah.
Stewart going to the movie and going to the restaurant and paying for it. So it's kind of that old style, point of view. And
Exactly.
it seems like so people who would be interested in going to Ukraine dating would be like an older man that understands that he's mature enough to deal with a woman that might have a child, and to understand that the woman's going to actually like the fact that he wants to be old school and
Yeah,
kind of lead on the date in terms of paying for it, and being in a situation where you know having a family and having a serious relationship, not just a one night stand, is the point. That you want to have a long term that's going to end up in marriage. It seems like that's the goal for what you're trying to do with this site, right?
you got this down, Phantom. You're understanding. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
So if somebody goes to your site, like what's the first couple of things that happen if they come to Ukraine dating TV? What's the step? You meet people, but how does it work? Maybe you can
Okay,
describe
how
more in
how
detail.
it works, it's just a YouTube channel, actually. This URL, ukrainedating.tv, will forward you to our YouTube channel. So we go live there every day, and there's different streamers. I think we have 9 different Ukrainian ladies, and there's a different lady streaming every day. So every day for 1 hour. So you can see by the video that's set in the live category on YouTube. You can see at the time of the next live, you can see her picture on the thumbnail. We have ladies from, yeah, I think Yulia is the youngest, and that's Yulia living in London. She's 20, 25. And then we have up to about 46 years of age, Ukrainian lady. And basically, I started the channel because there's such a chasm of myths and bullshit.
Mhm.
Excuse the French, in this industry. Every guy, most guys have seen these websites that are pay per letter. You pay for a letter, you pay to each picture you open. And I've met guys that are out of pocket tens of thousands of dollars on these sites. And it's just, guys, on the channel, we don't, guys, you're just talking to Igor.
Yeah,
It's
you
men.
talk to a bot. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
who you think it is.
Yeah. And probably these days you're talking to Chat GPT,
You
probably.
talk to AI. You talk to
Yeah,
AI.
AI. Yeah, yeah. And so this is a way for guys to get all their questions answered, to see what are Ukrainian women really like. And if you watch any of these streams on ukrainedating.tv, you can see what makes the girl or the lady tick. She answers all the guys' questions, and you can video date. You just add the URL to your computer, and you can come on with your cam, do a cam share, and talk to her, date her. And like I said, if you want to buy her flowers and get her contact information, you can do that on a donation site that's provided. So it's really a channel that I'm hoping will be a game changer for the industry. So to take the steam out of these toxic PPL scam sites, that are just taking people for a ride. And I hope it will debunk the myths out there. So that's my intent with the channel.
Well, it seems like you have a authentic service that's actually connected to a real person, not a bot, not AI, not somebody, some programmer behind the scenes saying I'm Martha when you're not, it's somebody else. Um, so that you can actually have that conversation live with the person, right? You eventually have the live discussion, and then you can decide if you want to buy them flowers, or you want to do more, do the donations to kind of keep the site going. Which sounds like, it seems like a breath of fresh air compared to like you said, the sites are out there that make you pay the text, pay the, for every little thing. You got to pay something. You got to keep on putting coins in or something to keep on
Yeah,
doing it. And like you said, by the time you're done, you
yeah,
could have bought a car,
yeah,
you
yeah. The other thing
could have bought a
I'll just
computer or
mention it.
something.
The other thing on this topic I'll just mention is that talking about online dating scams, especially in Eastern Europe, I have a YouTube channel called Mail Order Bride Scams. If you just search in YouTube, and guys that were scammed, they tell their story. Usually one every week or two. There's a guy coming on next Wednesday, and he's telling his scam story. $60,000 he was scammed over 6 years by these sites that pay per letter, pay per photo. He's 70 something, and the girl that he's talking to is 37. So, guys, that's just not real in any world on planet Earth, That's
Yeah,
obviously a
probably
scam.
not. Yeah, it's not gonna work. It's more like maybe 67,
Yeah.
you know, than that. But
Yeah.
maybe in some world depends on. It's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, it's not
So
impossible to win the Super Bowl lottery, but I
yeah, it's
wouldn't
highly
wouldn't sell
unlikely.
my house to buy tickets.
So
Yeah.
do you have any further goals for the site to change it in the future, or do you feel comfortable with the structure you have now, or are you deciding that you're going to add additional sites or
Like I
capabilities?
say, it's not a site, it's just a YouTube channel. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
what I do for a living is I'm a real estate developer in Canada. So, I'm also a real estate lender, so we lend based on equity-based lending, so if somebody has a deal on a piece of real estate, yeah, I'm part of a fund that's $50 million, and that's my mainstay.
So you're going to keep it as just a channel with the
Yeah, it's
ability
just
for
a
you to
YouTube
do
channel.
donations.
Yeah, yeah,
No
donation-based.
thought,
Yeah.
no thought to turn it into a website and to do all the other stuff that you could do, but you feel like that goes down the road that maybe the other people are already doing that you don't want to do it that way.
No, no.
Well, I think it's been interesting to talk to you. I want to let people know that you can check out ukrainedating.tv. That we did have the other site, but that's the site you want people to go to. That's the channel, right? That's the right one.
Yeah, there's a blog as well, ukrainedating.ca.charlie alpha. If you want to read articles, it's all about different topics about dating, about age gap, about all things about traditional women. You can go there as well. And yeah, it's been great talking to you as well, Phantom. Thank you for having me on. And again, I guess my main soapbox message to guys is that, you know, who says we have to let our dreams go just because we hit the age of 50 or 60 or whatever? Just go for your dreams. I mean, I'm just an example of a guy that was down and out, lost everything, right? I mean, I'm in the gutters of life, but I got up the courage to get back up, dust myself off, and I'd encourage you to go for it as well. If you're looking to get married, find your soulmate and start a family. If that resonates with you, um, Eastern Europe is the place to go. That's my big soapbox box message. And you can go check it out,
Also,
ukrainedating.tv, and see for yourself. Yeah.
well, being over 50, it's not the end of the world. I think
The
a lot of
beginning of the
people
world.
could, you got beginning. Yeah, you have to look at the glass half empty or glass full, half full. Because like you get
Exactly.
50, it's like if you have the mindset that it's over, then it's gonna be over. But if you get the
Exactly.
mindset that like the next day I could actually meet this beautiful woman and I actually could have something and I deserve it. Like, but you have to believe you deserve it.
Yeah, it's
Because
like
like if
Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or you believe you cannot, you're right either way. Exactly.
yeah, because
I
you
call it
see
my
her.
second half. I call it my second half because, yeah, and it's the best half. So I wish the same for you guys too. And yeah, you can learn from my experiences if you're looking for such a thing, family.
Well, you have a beautiful wife, you have children, you have travel, you have freedom at the age of 50. And so it's totally possible. So you should live out your dreams and don't think it's like too late for you. So I think
Absolutely.
that's the thing today. Anybody over 50, check this out. This is a site, not a site, but a channel that you can really check out dating in a way that you're not going to get scammed. So
And
that's
not just and not just over 50. I mean, if you're 30, as long as you're serious, I will say this.
serious.
If
Oh,
you're a man
serious.
that's looking for a marriage, if you're a then, Ukrainian women or Eastern European women can be for you. If you're looking to fuck around and sow your oats, stay away from Eastern European women because they're going to see you a mile away, see right through you.
It's
And that's
really
not
for
what they're
somebody that
into.
wants to
Commitment.
get married, somebody's into a
Yeah.
long-term relationship. That's what
Yeah.
you're about. So it we talked about being over 50, but if you're in that mindset and you're younger, it's still for you.
Yeah.
So I
Exactly.
want to clarify that.
Yeah.
But thank you
Exactly.
again for being on the show. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Phantom.
We'll
Thank you
get
for
this
having
out.
me. Good luck, everyone
Thank you.
out
Have a
there.
good night.
Okay. Take care. Bye bye.